props, and futures for tonight's action. Bettor Sports Betting wants to know what picks you're playing tonight. Tell us in the live chat on YouTube, Twitter, and the Bettor Sports Network app. This is Bettor Sports Betting with Fantasy Alarm's Dan Servodidio.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome in here to the Bettor Sports Betting Show on Bettor Sports Network and Fantasy Alarm. Appreciate everyone jumping in here and joining in on a Tuesday afternoon. Got Jon Impemba with me. We're going to be breaking down some Heisman odds, updated Heisman odds as we're looking into week 2 for college football. Give out some baseball bets and picks for tonight's slate, of course. Got to start out, though, John. Yesterday's show, on this show, we own when we get picks right, we get picks wrong. Unfortunately, Max Kepler did not go deep, even though, 6 different Twins hit a homer. They scored 20 runs. He went 0 for 4, I think, in the game.
Yeah, he went 0 for 4.
So your hits, runs, RBIs prop also did not cash, but I looked at that box score, was not paying attention. I saw, I gave out Lucas Giolito. He went over his earned run, so I missed on that completely. But I looked back at the box score, and Kepler 0 for 4. I think he got pitch hit for it at some point. Not ideal.
No, listen, I saw the highlights of that. Someone, ESPN, I think, was running like the home run montage from that game, and I'm like, none of those are Max Kepler. So then I went to the box score. It's like they hung 20. Scroll down, Max Kepler 0 for 4. Polanco homered, got pinch hit for Gallo. Gallo homered as in a pinch hitting role. Correa homered. Cal Farmer pinch hit for Correa. He homered. Wallner homered. I mean, listen, I'll say I was on the right game. I just the rare instance of picking the wrong player. You and I also did the MLB DFS show. We liked Edouard Julien there. 0 for 3 for him, but with 3 walks and 3 runs scored. So still came through, but come on, man, 0 for 3 on the time his team scored 20 runs. So yes, that was frustrating. I also had gave out a couple plays on the show that did hit. The Brian Wu hit went over. A couple others that I ended up parlaying. I like to take all my plays for the day and then do a $5 parlay because you never know, right? Some days you just hit the pot of gold and you hit it through. So I had a 7 pick parlay for player props yesterday, and every single thing hit except for Corbin Burns, which I also gave out on this show, the over 18.5 outs. He finished with 18 outs. He pitched just 6 innings. He was cruising in that game, comes into the 4th inning, pitch count's looking great, gets 2 quick outs. Brian Case comes up, gets him in a 2-2 count, gives up a home run. Next batter, Brian Reynolds, double, gets out of that inning at 87 pitches now through 5, and it's great. Just completely threw everything out of sync. He was looking like he was going to go 7 again. That was yesterday. We just kind of put that one in the bag, had a couple of winners, had some unfortunate losers, but we're turning the page.
That's what you got to do. Tuesday. This is the epitome of MLB betting because it's just and I can tell you're still not over it. So
no, I'm upset. Listen, I'm upset. The Brian Hayes home run hurt. Okay, he had 2 strikes on him. He had 2 outs. He just got out of that inning at 68, 69 pitches. 7 innings was easy cruising for him. Instead, he doesn't get out of it till the mid 80s because he gets on 2 more hitters, longer at bats, and just. That's what kills me about the outs prop sometimes, especially in today's day and age, where pitchers really only go 6. It needs to be really cruising to get him to go 7. And Burns had gone over in 2 of the last 3. Great matchup against the Pirates, but Brian Hayes is the hottest hitter on that team, and sure enough, it's the one to do the damage, drive with the pitch count, and GG's for the play.
Well, yeah, we got to wait the slate clean because we got a full slate of games tonight to dive into. At least our early picks we gave out right at the start of yesterday's show hit because you had Merrill Kelly's under earned runs that hit in the early game. The Reds team total over against Brian Wu, so that hit as you mentioned. The Reds money line I gave out and they ended up winning, pulling it out over the Rays. So we had some early wins, but maybe the late games. Trey Turner came through again for me, so might be going back to him on today's show. So we'll get to that shortly. The one miss, and it was an ugly Clemson performance last night. I had Clemson against the spread. They obviously did not cover that. They ended up losing by double digits, more than double digits to Duke last night. Just a crazy situation there. But so that was a bummer. But looking ahead to now week 2 in college football, and that's what we'll start here. Talking some Heisman odds, updated Heisman odds after all these week 1 games are now in the books. And yeah, I got my research done. I'm fiddling around with some of these Heisman odds because it's moving. We got some odds moving. And the big performance obviously was Shedeur Sanders in Colorado, Travis Hunter, all coming through and really, vaulting up these Heisman odds. You can see some of their odds. Travis Hunter at plus 6,000. Shedeur Sanders at plus 8,000. I want to look at the top of the board, though, because, obviously these are the favorites according to Vegas and according to money coming in. Caleb Williams, last year's Heisman winner, still the favorite, plus 450. I'll say right off the bat, don't bet on Caleb Williams because obviously the shortest odds, not the best value in general, but there has not been a back-to-back Heisman winner since Archie Griffin did it in the 1970s for Ohio State. And he's the only guy that's ever gone back-to-back Heismans. And it's just something we're not going to see again. I mean, obviously, if Caleb Williams lights it up every single game, it'll be hard not to bet on him and for the voters to pick him. But it's just not a smart play, I don't think. Obviously, we all like to back him, but just interesting there. The two I will say that, right behind Caleb Williams, we got Michael Penix Jr. and Jordan Travis. And we talked yesterday about LSU versus Florida State. Florida State just really coming through, and Jordan Travis was a big part of that. Travis is my pick right now. So he was my preseason, favorite odds. I liked him to win the Heisman, and I'm still backing that because you look at what Clemson just did last night and how ugly that offense was. Clemson was supposed to be the toughest game on Florida State's schedule, and now, that's a road game for Florida State in only a couple weeks. So they're getting an offense and a Clemson team that's still kind of working through it. That might be an easier matchup than we originally thought. If Florida State wins that, then they should go undefeated in the regular season. Right. And they're going to go into the ACC title game and the college football playoff undefeated. And Travis is going to be the headliner. So this might be the shortest odds you can get Travis on, especially if he beats Clemson. He's going to vault probably into, I would say, co-favorites with Caleb Williams. Penix is obviously worth a look. What do
you make of the preseason rankings there? I guess like Clemson being ranked number 9 team in the country going into last night and getting absolutely wasted by Duke. Is that just like? I mean, again, like not as someone that is obviously as big of a follower of college football, but when you see the number 9 team, we kind of thought it was a little weird that it was only a 12.5 point spread versus an unranked team as it was, and then they get, like I said, they got wasted last night. What does that say for like perceptions of teams? Like, are there other maybe pretenders out there that you could maybe find some favorable lines against? Obviously putting you on the spot here, but just kind of thinking about that, right?
Oh, I mean, for sure. So Clemson was a team. I took their if you looked on Fantasy Alarm, some college football preseason win totals bets that I gave out and wrote about. Clemson was a team I picked over on their win total because I thought their defense is really good. I mean, they really did limit Duke for the most part last night for most of the game. It was just their offense. They had a bunch of turnovers in the red zone, a couple of missed field goals, blocked field goal. And it's their offense that was supposed to be, bringing in Garrett Riley from TCU to really take a step forward with their offense. This is still a team that won 10 games last year in a down year, quote unquote, for Clemson. So I still am higher on them. Their week 2 matchup is against Charleston Southern, so it should be in a very easy win. But going forward, they might be a team that's kind of undervalued in terms of the spreads, where people kind of look at them. Like that game against Florida State, because their next 3 games, they got Charleston Southern, should be an easy win. They got Florida Atlantic, should be an easy win, and then they play Florida State, and Florida State might be favored in that game. It might be just a shorter spread, and you would actually consider betting on Clemson there.
Sure.
So yeah, that's the kind of and Duke, for that matter, is probably going to be overvalued now.
Right.
Even though they did look great, and then obviously they beat a top 10 Clemson team. But still, Clemson could still go on a run and turn things around here, so it's not completely out on them.
Right. Because you see the new 25 got released, and obviously you see Duke, you see in Colorado, and it's like, okay, is that just a big overreaction to what we just saw?
Well, yeah, Colorado for sure is because the thing about AP voters, a lot of these guys, all respect to them, and obviously I am not one, so I can't really talk too much about it. But a lot of these guys are more casual college football writers that they're specific writers for their team, but like they might see what Colorado just did. They beat a top 25 TCU team and just immediately put them in their top 25. So that's kind of the vibe of it.
Sure.
And overreactions are aplenty in the AP polls.
Sure.
So yeah, Clemson moving all the way down to 25 is definitely an overreaction too. But
sure.
One I will give out a couple going back to the Heismans. Two guys that if you want to bet on now, this might be the lowest either one is going to be, because this week we have Texas versus Alabama. Huge game, the biggest game of this week and one of the biggest games all season in terms of non-conference teams. And Texas is, Quinn Ewers, the quarterback for Texas, Jalen Milroe, who's is now the starter for Alabama. The winner of that game, one of those two guys will vault up the odds boards for the Heisman. The other guy might drop a little bit, but betting on either one right now, if you think Alabama's going to win, if you think Texas is going to win, especially Texas on the road, Quinn Ewers would definitely jump up to be, one of the true Heisman contenders. So that's one you can kind of buy low on either one of those right now if you want to look at that. The other game, the other matchup that is interesting. So, I mean, well, let's just go talk about Colorado here. I would not bet on Travis Hunter or Shedeur Sanders to win the Heisman, because the fact of the matter is this is still a Colorado team that is going to be maybe a 6-win team, maybe a team that reaches a bowl. They're still going to lose a bunch here. Obviously, they proved everyone wrong. They won outright on the road at TCU in this week 1, but it's still a team it's not going to be, in the college football playoff. It's not going to be a top 10 team in the country the rest of the season, just the straight facts of it. And we just don't see Heisman winners from teams that aren't, the elite of the elite. It just doesn't happen unless it's like unless Shedeur Sanders is blowing every college football record out of the books. But the team is still going to be like a 500 team this year. So that's just the inkling I get. I know people love to bet on them now. People are going to be betting on Colorado all season because they're the shiny thing. And especially Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter. So yeah, that's my feeling on Colorado. I mean, what's your take on that situation? Because like from your perspective, because I'm like tied into this, maybe I'm a little biased on just like ruling out, Shedeur Sanders from winning the Heisman. But what's your take on it?
I mean, I will say that people certainly get swept up in the hype of a player. And, what did we talk about? Like, we think that Colorado, with the pace that they play, can score a lot of points. So if their defense still gives up a lot of points, but that offense is out there just every week, 40 points, and Sanders every week, 5-6 touchdowns, I don't see why he wouldn't be in that conversation, especially if the offense just outscores the defense. If Colorado goes out there in a year 1 turnaround from a 2-11 team, I think with a 2-11 was their record was, or something like that last year. So turns it around. Now they stay as a top 25. They get into a bowl game, and he is like far and away their best offensive player. Then I think there's a chance that he could be worth a dart. And people like the story. They like getting swept up in that. Deion's going to be talking all season. All right. So you can just campaign and promote. What did he say? During halftime, if Hunter caught those 2 balls, he'd have the Heisman in his trophy case already or something like that. So, you're going to hear a lot of that talk. So you don't go make a big bet on it, but at those odds, sure. Like why not? So there's another week against Nebraska, like they put up last week, and those odds might get cut in half, right? So.
Yeah, I mean, if you do want to bet on them, this would be the lowest they might be because they play Nebraska at home this week. They are favored, slight favorites too. So keep that in mind. Only 2.5 is the spread there. But if they win that, then they play Colorado State their next game. So they could start out 3-0, and Shedeur Sanders is among the nation's leaders in a lot of different categories. Same thing with Travis Hunter. But then their next 2 games, Oregon and USC. It's going to get very real for them. And listen, I'm rooting for Colorado to be an exciting story. And I love rooting, especially I'm full into the college football DFS for Fantasy Alarm. They're both on the main slate this week. It'll be hard not to play them, honestly.
Honestly, college football DFS, I give you a lot of credit for that because the amount of points that get scored in some of these games and the matchups, in the NFL DFS, you hope for a quarterback to go out there and 300 and a couple of scores. These college quarterbacks they're throwing 500 yards and 5 touchdowns. Like it's absurd the amount of points that these kids can score.
Yeah, and Sanders was on the main slate last week, so if you had him in your lineup, you definitely hit it big.
I'm saying.
So and all the receivers, they all put up I think they had 4 different 100-yard receivers in that game.
Yeah.
So those are some of the Heisman odds. It is interesting to see if our producer can put up that graphic. Yeah, awesome. It's interesting to see some of the names that are lower on the list, like Carson Beck, the quarterback for Georgia. Georgia's going to be, a top 5 team all season, and they're probably going to make the playoff. They might even win, back-to-back championships this year. And his odds are all the way down there at plus 3,000. But keep in mind, Stetson Bennett never won the Heisman, even though he was the quarterback for those back-to-back teams. It is their defense and strong run game that kind of carries them. But that's kind of an interesting name. Joe Milton, too, with Tennessee. He lit it up in week 1, still at plus 3,000. And if Tennessee kind of rolls and is exciting offense again, I could see him getting buzzed, kind of like we saw Hendon Hooker was a very real Heisman contender last year for Tennessee until he got hurt. So those are kind of the names lower down the board. You do see Riley Leonard for Duke at plus 6,500, now jumping up a little bit from what he previously was, if you want to take a shot on him. So interesting names here. The Drew Allar from Penn State is another name to kind of keep an eye on because Penn State's legit. And Allar, had a really good week 1. Granted, it was in an easier matchup, but if they kind of roll and are a 1-loss team and into the playoff, then he could get a lot of buzz late in the season. So those are some of the names kind of keep an eye on. We'll be tracking the Heisman odds throughout the season here on the show. We got a comment in the chat, and definitely got to touch on this because a big story in the sports world, but definitely NFL, is Travis Kelce getting injured in practice today. Just one of those big, you hate to see this in week 1, but yeah, get in the game, commenting here, saying how much does the line move if he cannot play? The line, they play Thursday night, so this is only 2 days away. It's really up in the air whether he plays or not. And we have seen, I'm looking on DraftKings right now, we have seen the line move in the Lions' favor. 5.5 is the spread now in that game. The total has dropped a little bit too. 53.5 is the over/under there. So we have seen this line move in reaction to this, and I'm not surprised at all. And I think there's a real chance that the Lions cover here and could win outright if Kelce doesn't play. I mean, it's a huge loss for that offense because the receiving core around him is very much like unproven and kind of, there's not a true number 1 receiver there. Kelce was that, right?
Yeah.
So this is huge. I mean, the Lions have talent. They can keep pace with a Travis Kelce-less offense.
Yeah, you never want to count out Patrick Mahomes, obviously. He's as great as he is, but you're right. I mean, now you take away Travis Kelce and you're looking at Kadarius Toney maybe as a wide receiver 1, or Sky Moore, who's expected to take his first real step into a full-time role this year. Marquez Valdes-Scantling, obviously, is going to be their outside receiver. Then they got Ross and Rice, 2 guys that they said would figure into package players this year, guys that they have certain plays for that they'll get them in, but not someone they're looking to rely upon Noah Gray would likely step into that Travis Kelce role, but obviously not Travis Kelce. Could see them look a little bit more to the running game. I mean, Isaiah Pacheco and Jerick McKinnon are right there as well. Maybe try to control that game a little bit, but Detroit really strong on their front line, both sides of the ball, offense and defense. So that could be a little bit tough for them to try to fully grind it out. So but I'm with you. If this is a spot now where maybe you take the points with Detroit because you think they can hang in a little bit more, it could be a spot to take it. I still don't know if Detroit outright wins. That'd be a pretty big upset, even with Kelce off the field for me to see Detroit go into KC on opening night and beat Patrick Mahomes. It would really say a lot for the Lions because their offense, outside of we don't know what Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be, and they have David Montgomery, but Amon-Ra St. Brown's really the only pass catcher they have. So they would have to win in a very low scoring sort of drag them out type of game.
Yeah, so if Kelce doesn't go, I think I would look to the over-under and take the under and maybe stay away from the spread. But it's also interesting, Chris Jones, their star defensive lineman, is still not with the team, contract dispute there. And it kind of looking likely that he's not going to play on Thursday, which I think is a notable loss for the defense for Kansas City. So keep that in mind. I was looking at some other things, if you're looking at props for this game.
Yeah.
So they have all the Chiefs receivers and rushers off the board, at least on DraftKings right now. But Mahomes is still up there, and his passing touchdowns prop is at 2.5, and it's juiced now way to the under at -166. And I remember looking at this, a couple days ago, and it was, pretty much even money and maybe even favored to the over 2.5 there. But this is now obviously with Kelce gone.
Right.
Maybe the Chiefs are looking at more, in the red zone, they're looking more run focused offense down near the goal line and stuff instead of, using Kelce there. So the passing touchdowns line has gone down a little bit for Mahomes. So
yeah, obviously over 2.5 is a big line for most quarterbacks anyways. Yeah. And you take away one of their biggest red zone threats. The one thing that worries me a little bit is their favorite play is to do that quick shuffle pass when they get inside the
pass.
5.
Yeah,
it's a pass, but it's a run, right? So anybody can score on that. They've used Noah Gray actually to score on that. It's one of the reasons why Andrew Cooper every week is tight end dart throw. He's don't forget that Noah Gray occasionally gets the shovel pass and not Travis Kelce, and he's your mid-price tight end in DFS. They could still do a play like that where Mahomes could get his third touchdown just because they're driving down the field and they run that stupid shovel pass play, which is wildly effective and nobody in the NFL can figure out how to stop it still.
Or they've used if they're on the 2-yard line, they use Gray or Kelce, but I remember using them Gray as the quarterback, taking the snap and just running it in as a QB sneak because we all know what happened to Mahomes that one time when he tried to sneak it and got his kneecap dislocated. So
exactly, you need to keep him upright. So I would probably still lean on the under at 2.5 for Mahomes now that Kelce's gone, but it wouldn't shock me for me to do that. And they score on that stupid shovel pass. And you're great, there it is.
So on Thursday's show, to start our show, we will definitely give out our best bets and picks, player props, all that for this game. And then on Friday's show, we'll be diving more into all the other week 1 games. But Thursday, we'll see if we get any updates on Kelce's status and Chris Jones for that matter. All right, let's look at. And by the way, if you haven't already, go download go get your free 7-day trial for the Fantasy Alarm All-Pro subscription. You can download for free the cheat sheet and the draft guide. You only got a few days left. I know people will probably draft in last minute tonight, tomorrow night, maybe even Thursday for the start of the season. So now's a chance to go get the draft guide and the cheat sheet, get the All-Pro subscription for a free 7-day trial. You can scan that QR code, go to fantasyalarm.com/draft. Or if you have the All-Pro subscription, you get these things for free, draft guide and cheat sheet. So jump on in there while you can and take advantage. All right, let's look at tonight's baseball slate and give out some picks and props for tonight. So what's your best bet to start out here, John?
Yeah, I'm going to go pick on Patrick Corbin on the mound here for the Nationals. We'll go Mets over 4.5 team runs here, -140 on DraftKings Sportsbook. Again, it's an easy bet every time Patrick Corbin's on the mound. It just gives up a lot of runs here. Even though I don't have it, if you wanted to go there, Pete Alonso has some pretty crazy BVP. It's like a 45 at-bat sample off Patrick Corbin. Could easily be the guy just to do all the damage here tonight against him. So, yeah, give me the Mets tonight over 4.5 runs.
Yeah, I can get behind fading Patrick Corbin any chance we can get. My best bet, you saw it up there, Trey Turner. I'm just going back to it. I just can't get away from this as long as he's running this hot. He homered again last night.
I know.
I'm going with the over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. It's minus 150 on DraftKings, but I'm fine with that. You can look at his total bases too because of how hot he's rolling. So again, he homered again last night. He's now got 10 home runs over his last 15 games. Has a home run in 6 of the last 7 games too. Also has multi-hit games in each of his last 7 coming into tonight, hitting over 400 in this past week. And I just don't see Pedro Avila for the Padres, who's starting tonight, holding him down, or the Padres bullpen for that matter. But Pedro Avila, he's given up 5 and 6 runs in his first 2 times through the Padres rotation since he's been moved as a starter. I just see Turner keeping it going tonight. Over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs for him in 9 straight games and 12 of the past 13 coming into tonight. So can't get away from it.
I have no arguments with anything you're saying. I mean, last night we were automatic, right?
Yeah.
Pick on Rich Hill last night. That was an easy win. Rich Hill's an absolute garbage pitcher at this point.
Yeah.
But the Phillies offense can roll, and Turner's a big reason for it. So I back you 100%.
Yeah, Turner went over his hits, runs, RBIs in the first inning last night, and then he had a home run in the second inning to go over his total bases. So, yeah, this is just an automatic bet. We got Michael Rojas in the chat chiming in here. He likes Cody Bellinger over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs is one of his picks. Also likes Houston versus Texas over 9 runs tonight. The Bellinger one I can get behind for sure. The wind is blowing out in Wrigley, so immediately I looked at. I'm not giving it out here, but I looked at the over in this game in general. But I do think Bellinger is going to have a key role in that, just of how well he's been rolling here. So I can get behind that one. The Astros Rangers over 9 runs. Interesting because we got Framber Valdez versus Nathan Eovaldi, his first start back. How do you think that one goes?
It's intriguing to see the line on Eovaldi here for me. The run, I would expect Houston to do a little bit more damage, I think. Eovaldi was obviously looking pretty good. It's his first time off the IL, and Houston's really just – you talk about another team that put up a bunch of runs. I mean, they're just rolling right now. So
we don't know how long Eovaldi's going to really go either.
Yeah,
that's and then it's the Texas bullpen, which is terrible.
Yeah, but why would you bring Eovaldi? I mean, maybe because you need the win. I mean, you're not going to. But wouldn't you want to maybe just ease him in? You're throwing him against Houston, his first start back off the IL. That team is murdering right now. That doesn't feel great for me. If I was someone back in the Rangers, so I don't mind the over runs. I mean, Framber's going to do one of 2 things. He's going to either no hit you tonight or give up 6. Because that's what he's been doing for the last 8 starts. So
he did have a shaky outing against Texas earlier this year. Yeah. So that's on the books.
I'm fine. I'm fine taking the over. The Belly one's interesting because now he's hitting lefties anyways. Shamanai is gonna be the long man in this game at some point.
Yeah.
So they're starting Walker. He'll pitch an inning, and then we've seen them go Junis. Then we've seen them go Minaya. We've seen them just go right to Minaya. So at some point, he is going to get the lefty, but again, Bellinger's kind of hitting everybody, so it's not a terrible spot for him.
Also with the Rangers, I mean, I can see why they bring back Eovaldi because this is critical this series against the Astros. They can get a game here or tomorrow, they're bringing back Scherzer to get the start against the Astros too. So these are the games that if maybe they're hoping for Eovaldi to really show up tonight. Tough spot. I'm staying away just because I could see it going, either way. I could see Eovaldi having 5 shutout innings, or I could see him kind of running into trouble early.
He steps up in good matchups, so that's kind of been his MO.
Got good home numbers this year too.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, what other picks you got, John?
Yeah, I'm just gonna keep rolling Braves. Braves 5.5 at -120. They're at home. Love that. Miles Mikolas is not a great pitcher, so why bet against it? Just keep running out Atlanta here. We were betting them over 7.5 runs in Coors, and they had no problem going over that. I know they're back home, but Summers in Atlanta, that ball flies out as good as any park as well. So I'm willing to go over 5.5 runs tonight for the Braves.
Yeah, and that totals at 10.5 now for that game, and the Braves are favored, heavily on the money line, -205. So if you're thinking most of the scoring in that one's coming from the Braves side of things, then taking the over on the team total is definitely a good call. I'm going with a couple picks here, kind of the same angle though. Just the under and the first 5 under in the Twins Guardians game tonight, under 8 for the full game. And then first 5 under 4.5. We did just see a 20-6 game from these teams last night. So obviously keep that in the back of your mind. But I just think the starting pitching matchup is going to really lead to a lower scoring contest here. Sonny Gray on the mound for the Twins. He's pitching really well. Over his last 6 starts, he has a 2.04 ERA, 2.53 FIP. Just faced the Guardians in his last outing, tossed 7 shutout innings. And this Guardians offense has really struggled against right-handed pitching lately. Just a bottom 5 offense over the past week in this split. And on the other side, I think Tanner Beebe is going to do his thing as well against Minnesota. I know the Twins just put up 20 runs last night, but before that, they kind of were a middling offense against right-handed pitching, just kind of below average offense in multiple categories. And Beebe's been a lot better, especially, strong second half right now, 2.63 ERA since the All-Star break. And some of his underlying metrics, like his barrel rate, some of his contact rates are much better than you'd think from a rookie, at least. And I think he's going to do his thing. And then the other thing, just to kind of keep in mind is, so last night, obviously, a big blowout win for the Twins. The game was pretty much over, and the later innings, both teams didn't use any of their top relievers, which I think is huge for tonight. So I'm seeing, Gray versus Beebe, probably strong 6 innings from both. And then 7, 8, 9, we're going to get the top relievers from both teams here to kind of close it down late. So I like the full game under, and obviously the first 5 under.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. Honestly, I think if nothing else here, I do think Sonny Gray holds down the Guardians. So, if he holds them to 1 earned, it gives some room for the Twins hit some home runs. I mean, that's just what they do this year. They strike out and they hit homers. They just hit 6 of them, right? So, that they live and die by it. So if BB can keep the ball in the ballpark, probably keep the Twins off the board or limit their damage. If the ball flies out of the park, hopefully Sonny Gray does enough to keep down the Guardians that, they can keep that under as well.
Yeah. All right, what else you got going, John?
For me, listen, Jasson Dominguez making his Yankee Stadium. I think it's his Yankee Stadium debut, right? Because they started there on the road. Or they play yesterday? I forget. Now I forget. But he's in Yankee Stadium here tonight. I like that spot for him. Making his Yankee Stadium debut. So I like that. Lefty in Yankee Stadium, big prospect debut. Fiedo on the mound here. We're going to go 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs on the over for there.
Okay, well, I got a pick that might be this can still happen, but my pick, I'm going with the Tigers run line. It's very risky with Garrett Cole on the mound, but Cole has actually been just okay. He's got a 4.40 ERA in his last 5 starts here, and it's just kind of been off and on. He hasn't been like a totally dominant guy on the mound, and the Detroit offense is not great against right-handed pitching. They've been one of the league's worst, but over the last 2 weeks, they're actually their numbers against righties are better than the Yankees in that split. And obviously, you mentioned Alex Fado on the mound doesn't offer a lot of confidence, but he actually has a 3.38 ERA since the start of August. Has been a little bit better. And again, I think the Yankees numbers against righty is just kind of having me look towards this. And interesting trends here. Obviously you think the Yankees are just going to win every game Garrett Cole starts. They're actually 4-5 in his last 9 starts since the All-Star break. So it hasn't always been just like a pencil in win for the Yankees. And, the spread here, the run line is what I'm looking for. You could look at take a shot on the money line for the Tigers, but I like the run line because the Yankees aren't winning a lot of games by, 2 runs or more. They're 3-7 against the spread in their last 10 games as -1.5 favorites on the run line. So it's just a spot where I think the Tigers can keep it a little close. Low run total here, 8 is the over under. So I think it's a spot where the Tigers could go just a little overlooked.
Listen, Spencer Torkelson has been unbelievable, really, in the second half. We've seen Riley Green have a great season, and Kerry Carpenter, also a guy that's really kept it going, kind of breakout guys for these Tigers. Well, the Tigers on a whole this season doesn't look all that great. They're young players that they're hoping to sort of be a core for their future are really starting to come around here. And listen, Garrett Cole, as dominant he's been at times, he's also struggled against some easier competition. It's like, maybe he overlooks them or he doesn't necessarily get up for those spots here. And they're in Yankee Stadium where, any ball hit the right field can go out. And then the runs, it changes the whole outlook of the game. We saw him get lit up by Boston a few starts ago for him there, giving up home runs like Connor Wong and Luis Urias, like not like big power hitters. He gave up to the bottom of their lineup. So sometimes he loses focus. He misses pitches against guys that maybe he's just not keyed in on. And that could get to him tonight against Detroit.
Yeah, and to that point, he just faced the Tigers last start, his last outing, gave up 2 runs over 6 innings, like a good start for him. But I think that the fact that the Tigers lineup, and you mentioned these guys who aren't backing down from pitchers, I think that helps. Kind of a little familiarity with what Cole brings to the mound. So, give me the Tigers on the run line.
I like it. My next play here, Kyle Hendricks over 16.5 outs. Now, this is more of a play of the opponent than the ballpark, because as you mentioned, the wind is blowing out. And then if you look at the home road splits for Kyle Hendricks, not that great. He's much better on the road than at home. But we're looking at a Giants offense that just continues to really struggle against right-handed pitching. Hendricks on the whole is pitching pretty well this year. Only needs 16.5 outs, so you need the 5 2/3 from him here to hit the over. I think he can get it done. I think he can limit enough damage here. There just isn't a lot of punch. And as I say that, he's probably going to get lit now, but there isn't a lot of punch in that Giants lineup, these days. So give me Hendricks over the 16.5 outs.
All right. Yeah. We just saw, I know it's a lefty and Hendricks is a righty, but we just saw Justin Steele have a great start against the Giants yesterday. So, the Giants are very much, no pun intended, hit or miss. It's just like sometimes they just get blanked. So I know the wind's blowing out, maybe a little risk to that point, but Hendricks. All right, so you got one more pick before we go out some home run calls, right?
I do. I got one more here. We're gonna go Reed Detmers over the 2.5 earned runs here this evening. Again, look at this matchup for the Arizona Diamondbacks going up against the Angels here. I just feel like it's Baltimore Orioles going up against the Angels here. We like I was looking at Corbin Carroll as I was trying to speak about the matchup for Reed Detmers. We love the Orioles against lefties. Ryan Mountcastle, Adley Rutschman, Santander, Hayes, that whole crew just hammering lefties. And Detmers has been a guy where there have been stints of dominance, and then there's been stints of, oh my God, what did I do? We're looking for the latter there of him just giving up a whole bunch of runs tonight. You're getting plus odds, a plus 105 on the over 2.5. So I like that. Again, a lot of power hitters in the top of that lineup. Mountcastle, Santander, Rutschman can easily just put the over there in one swing of the bat.
Yeah, the Orioles run line I gave out yesterday cashed because the Orioles offense has been, just really good against left-handed pitching. Yeah, and I think Detmers is a guy. So the Angels bullpen, I mentioned this in yesterday's show, their bullpen is just an ugly situation right now with a bunch of young pitchers up there. I feel like they could be looking at Detmers to go a little bit deeper too tonight, which could help that earned runs prop, because if he goes, even if he gives up some runs early, they could be just looking to get 6 innings from him tonight. So that's kind of like an under the radar look, I think. The Orioles, I was looking at the run line again tonight, but it's Dean Kramer on the mound for the Orioles, which I just kind of want to stay away from, but I could see them winning, big again tonight, just like they did last night. So, sure. Yeah, I like that Detmers call. All right, let's talk some home run calls, some predictions for tonight for people to go deep, or daily dingers.
And that baby is gone.
Now that's a dinger.
All right, John, you have a love fest with a certain hitter, so I'm going to let you take the floor here.
So after not playing yesterday, so I couldn't take him and ending my streak, Bobby Witt is back in the lineup here today against Dylan Cease, who's been pretty abysmal this season after a great year last year. So fresh off the day off, we're going to go back to the Bobby Witt well. I am 2 for 2 in the last 2 shows in which I've taken Bobby Witt's home run prop. He was plus 500 one time. He was plus 600 the other time. He's plus 550 today, so we're middling it. Okay. We'll take the Bobby Witt homer plus 550.
Listen, I can never knock Bobby Witt at this point, especially because you keep hitting on these home run calls for him.
The man has like 25 home runs, and they keep giving you plus 500, plus 600 odds. I'm going to keep taking it. Just going to do it.
All right, well, I'm going with Christian Walker. He is crushing left-handed pitching this year. 622 slug and 353 ISO versus left-handed pitchers this year. And his home run to fly ball rate is twice as high against lefties than against righties. He's seeing the ball well right now with a 300 batting average over the past week, including 2 home runs in this recent stretch. And he's got Kyle Freeland for the Rockies on the mound tonight, who's allowed 28 home runs over his 26 starts. Freeland's also allowed 11 home runs over his past 6 starts alone in this recent stretch. And against righty hitters for him, allowing a 558 slugging percentage. So I think Walker can go deep tonight against Kyle Freeland.
Yeah, anytime you can get Arizona against lefty, which I was beginning to talk about before. You can take them. I love Christian Walker, Ketel Marte, that whole crew there against lefties works for me tonight for sure.
Yeah, I looked at Ketel Marte too, and didn't give this pick out, but why not throw the Diamondbacks team total into some bets, because I do think, I think they're going to get it to Kyle Freeland, who does not have great numbers on the road. Not good at home either, at course.
Not good is what you can basically say. Just not good. So
not good in general.
Yeah, it works. Yeah.
All right, so those are our home run calls tonight. Good luck with everyone's picks tonight. You can stay tuned here on Bettor Sports Network with the Quick Pitch MLB DFS live show coming up next. Jon Impemba back again on the show tonight with Colby Conway as his co-host, and then 6 p.m. Eastern, Alarm Fantasy Baseball podcast with Matt Sells and Colby Conway. Then 7 p.m. Eastern, Tour Junkies, and then 8 p.m. Eastern, the real-time sports high-stakes fantasy football draft. So stay tuned all night on Bettor Sports Network as we give you guys some baseball, some football, some golf, all of it. Appreciate everyone tuning in here on a Tuesday. We'll be back tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern, again here on Bettor Sports Betting. John, good luck with your picks. Let's see another home run from Bobby Witt tonight, and we'll be good, right?
Definitely.
All right, we'll see you guys later.
Bettor Sports Betting on the Bettor Sports Network.